So this is an upgrade. Where we live, we lose power a lot. And not necessarily just as a function of storms. For whatever reason, our grid's a little bit tweaky. And we lose power a fair bit. So for years, I have been running my old 6,500 watt max single cylinder Robin Subaru engine generator, and I run it to run what I need through this little box, which I've had this box. It's got a 1999 build date. I've had this since about 2000. It's followed me to a couple of houses, and what it allows you to do is separate 8 circuits in here and have them either powered through the line, which goes through right here, or flip it up and it powers it through the generator, and it completely isolates this, so you don't have to worry about backfeeding and all that other stuff. And it works great. But because most of the time when we lose power, it's summertime, hurricane season and all that down here, it gets kind of hot. And you really do need to run some air conditioners. And it's a real pain to throw a window unit in, or 2 or 3 or whatever, every time the power goes out, which can happen 3, 4, 5 times a year. And now, a couple of weeks ago, when the big ice storm and snow and all that other crap came through down here, which was really odd, happens maybe once every 5 years, we lost power for another couple of days. Conveniently, that generator was able to run my heat in the house, I have gas heat, so it was able to run that with no issues. But I've never been able to obviously run my 5-ton home full HVAC system. And that's my goal with this monster, is to be able to wire it into my main box here, so that you throw your breaker up top, separate it from the line so you don't backfeed and try to power the world or hurt somebody who's working on the lines. You throw this breaker up here and power your 2 mains here, which should then run the entire house. And I believe, being a 15K and a 12, this should have the ability to run my air conditioner in the house. I'm hoping. If it doesn't, I'm still going to hook it up that way. It is what it is. But I have to say, so far I like this. I've run it for about 15 minutes so far. Run it a little bit just to give it a test on my old system. It powered, with the old system you can choose to either run the microwave or the toaster, and it could not at all, the old system, start the air fryer. With this, it was able to run the microwave, the toaster, and the air fryer all at once and didn't even blink. But it comes packaged on this manufactured little skid, where it actually allows you to put the wheels on it without jacking it up, which is nice, because this thing weighs close to 400 pounds. It is a beast. As you can see, you got the little battery down there for electric start. Got a metal fuel tank, a little over 10 gallons. We'll see how that does long term. My old one has a plastic tank, so this could, I guess, get some corrosion in it if you're not careful with it. But not a big deal, I don't think, certainly off the bat, if you maintain it. A nice little fuel shutoff here, which works well. No issues with that. It's actually got what appears to be a fuel vapor recovery canisters. It's got emissions on it. Not used to that on my old one that I've had for 25 years. Big exhaust system. Standard spin-on oil filter. Actually appears to have an oil cooler built into it, which is pretty cool. Really neat. Nothing too impressive. I believe this is most likely an oil pressure shutoff switch, which is always good on these things. If you're not paying attention and it runs out of oil or develops a leak, boom, kills the thing without wrecking your engine. Got your oil fill. Comes with a funnel, which is kind of nice, so you can get in there without dumping it all over the place like I usually like to do. Governor assembly, dipstick for the oil. Spark plugs are under the covers. Pretty good sized standard air filter that's under here. Let's pop that off. There we go. Nice setup. And again, she fired up really nice, ran good for the few minutes that I did run it. But what it does say in the instructions, that since this wasn't cheap, I figured I'd read, is you should run it for 5 hours and then change the oil. And it also says you shouldn't necessarily load it heavily until you've broken it in for that first 5-hour run. So that's what I'm going to do today while I work on my electrical to develop my plug to get the full house set up. I'm going to plug it into the old system and run what I can on that. I'm not going to shut the rest of the power off, so the rest of the house will have power. I'll just be running those 8 circuits on this for 5 hours while it thumps away and breaks itself in, and then we'll do the oil change. Then we'll be able to test it to see if it's actually going to do what I want. I'm hopeful that it does, but I'm still wondering if 15K on the startup is going to be enough. That's a lot of power, but it's a 5-ton unit. Now it's a fairly new 5-ton unit, and it's got all the soft starts and variable speeds and all that other stuff, so we will see. I tried it once on my other one. The other one had no chance. No chance whatsoever. So we're going to put that air cleaner cover back on. I'll show you the startup sequence, and then we're just going to let her run. Alright, so the first part of the startup actually is obviously turn on the fuel, on, and either way across is off, which is nice. So now we've got fuel. Nice little fuel filter over there. Looks nice and clean. Not much to it. Pull the choke. On. Being drawn on my meter here. Not much, but we're going to let that run now and do its break-in. You can see got a little bit of wattage being pulled. Well, we got our 5 hours on it. Been running good. No issues. So, we're about to do our first oil change. And I believe that it's going to be this is the drain, and this is the oil filter, obviously. The oil filter's probably going to drip all over the pressure sensor. No biggie there, I guess. But we're going to go get the manual, see if there's anything obvious that I'm missing, and change the oil. Alright, assuming that is the drain, because there's one on the other side. I don't see anything else that obviously looks like it could go into the oil sump. But assuming that is the drain, the only difficulty so far is this thing is kind of low, and with the front feet over there, it's kind of hard to get a pan under it. But otherwise, no major issues yet. So we're going to go get a wrench and pop that little bolt out and see if I can pour oil all over the place. Alright. Okay, so that's a 15 millimeter. Let's see what kind of a wretched mess I can make. This is in fact the drain. Oop, there it is. Just sneaks inside the pan. So that works. Obviously the oil's pretty clean because it's only got 5 hours on it and hasn't really been loaded. But now we're gonna crack off the oil filter and carry on. Say about the oil filter, I'll give them credit for not making it ludicrously tight like most from the factory. But no biggie there. Splat. Nice and clean, a little bit of a drip, but not too bad. And we'll keep letting that drain. Alright, now that that's all back together, got the new filter on, which turned out to be cross-referenced to a Mobil 1 M103, which is nice. And the supplied funnel, and a quart of Mobil 1 1030. One thing I did notice is that the head, or the valve cover area, fills up pretty quick. So when you're changing the oil, you want to pour it in slow enough where it doesn't overfill the valve cover. Let it drain down, and then we'll check the level. So on the dipstick, we've got our full and low. Let's see what we come up with. It's supposed to take between 1 and 1.4 quarts. So. And 1 quart puts it right at the full level. Perfect. So with whatever was residual, 1 quart, right where you need to be. And now the fun begins, because I have gotten my cord and my new hookup to try to run the whole house. So we're going to shuffle a few things around a little bit, and then we're going to try to give this thing to work out, and I hope it's capable of doing what I would like it to do. It should be. She's a monster. She's a ripper. But we will see. So she started up, I was here standing next to it when it did fire. No distress. Running nice and quiet, throwing heat, it's cooling. Compressor's nice and quiet. I like it. And judging by the 3 bars on the generator, it's pulling some juice, but we aren't taxing it. The startup was what I was worried about, because you pull a lot of amps on startup, but she handled it and didn't even blink. So now I'm going to go shut the air off and see if I can run the dryer, just for grins, what it does. And maybe the oven, since I got a big double oven. See what we can do here, how that generator's going to handle it. But I don't care about those, to be honest. I am ecstatic that this air conditioner is functional. So that was my goal. Beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And the way they tell you to shut it off, especially if you're going to be putting it away, is turn the gas off and let it die on its own. I just did that, so we're going to just try to all right. She's good. I am super happy with this right now. Granted, I've only owned it a few days and run it a little over 5 hours, but it's doing exactly what I had hoped. Now, a little windy, hopefully it's not too bad. We will see what the long term of this is, but with the air conditioner running, she was pulling, I think maybe 3 bars. With both ovens running, it was pulling 4 bars. And then with the dryer running, it was pulling 3. So none of it struggled when it started up. They all sounded good. So I don't believe that with all of those things I'm maxing this out, which is what I want. But I don't know, I also don't believe I'm hurting them either. With the quality of the power coming off, everything sounded good. I don't have an oscilloscope to give you anything like that. The frequency seems to be pretty good. When it's very lightly loaded, it runs a little high, maybe 60.5, 61 hertz. And when it's heavily loaded, it's running about 58.5 to 59 hertz. Doesn't seem to affect anything. All my electronics are still good. The TV's still working. You know, obviously the air conditioner is a sensitive piece. That wasn't cheap, but she seems like for emergency use, this baby's going to be fantastic. Now, she's not quiet. I think it's like a 717cc V-twin, and she makes some noise because it does run at 3600 RPM. This is not an inverter generator. If I could have found an inverter generator this size, I would have bought one, but they don't exist, not at 15 kV level. So she's a ripper, and your neighbors better be ready for it if you're running it. It's probably a little bit quieter than my old one, which was a single cylinder, but it's still loud. And the biggest difference I noticed with this one to my old one is this one's got a very, very pronounced high-pitched whistle. I'm not quite sure if it's the 60 hertz whistle or whatever that's related. It's definitely a function of the generator, not the engine. And that, even like when I'm over looking at my air conditioner, you can hear the whistle without even hearing the engine. So that's something that's a little interesting. For me, don't care. I'm going to be able to keep my wife 68 degrees at night during the summer, during hurricane season, because that's what matters to me. So the thing wasn't terribly cheap. With the cord and everything else, I've probably got $2,500 into it or so, ish, plus or minus. Again, this isn't a sponsored thing. I'm just telling you how I'm trying to get set up a little bit better to be able to run my house during the storms. So I'm pretty pleased with this unit right now. And as we're going, we'll keep you posted. Hope you're all having a good day. Take care.